At precisely 6:07 a.m., a sound tore through the quiet Arizona valley that could only be described as a rooster on espresso and a mission. "This land is under citizen investigation," screeched a voice over a megaphone that looked like it had been ordered from a doomsday clearance website. The voice belonged to Cheryl Ocaneltho in the neighborhood. We'd come to know her better as that lady in the tracksuit. She stood 5 feet past a rusted "No Trespassing Military Testing Zone" sign, her right hand holding a smartphone aloft as if broadcasting to a global audience, though it was really just a few unfortunate Facebook friends. Swinging from her other wrist like a war trophy were a pair of bolt cutters, clanking with every dramatic movement she made. Dressed in a neon pink tracksuit that reflected sunlight like an emergency beacon and oversized sunglasses that made her look like a hummingbird with a hangover, Cheryl strutted into the restricted field, spun around to face her phone, and declared with mock solemnity, "If I disappear, it's because I found something they didn't want me to." What Cheryl didn't know was that just 15 feet away, a robotic surveillance dog named Thor had already locked onto her heat signature, and 3 drones had rerouted midair to begin tracking her from above. Down in the underground command station, 2 techs wearing fatigues looked at each other in disbelief. "Sir," one of them said, trying not to laugh, "we've got another Cheryl breach. The day before, I'd had a gut feeling she was going to do something stupid. That kind of intuition where the sky is clear, but the air just feels off." That was Cheryl. "My name's Cole Brennan. I live just outside the boundaries of that test zone. Technically, I own the land, though it's under a special clearance lease with the Department of Defense. The whole zone is dedicated to testing non-lethal defense tech. Think drones, sound deterrents, robotic patrol dogs, and wildlife tracking sensors that could spook a squirrel from 40 yards. To most eyes, the land looks like open scrub and pasture. But to those with clearance, it's an active military site. And you don't step onto that site without credentials, and a damn good reason. I've served 2 combat tours, spent years developing classified surveillance systems, and now work as the civilian liaison for the project. Which is to say, I take security seriously." Cheryl, however, did not. She moved into the HOA across the road 3 months ago and immediately proclaimed herself queen of compliance. Her crusade began with notes about my unauthorized windmill, then spiraled into accusations that I was storing military-grade fertilizer too close to her backyard. I told her, plainly, "This is restricted government land. You don't have access. Please stay off." She just laughed and said she had a constitutional right to investigate anything affecting the community ecosystem. I reported her once already. The sheriff gave her a warning. She wasn't deterred. In fact, she got more obsessed. Which brings us back to this morning. Cheryl, in full neon fury mode, stomped through the restricted field while half of Fort Brixton's tech division watched her walk face first into a grid of sensitive sensor arrays. The first system to react was a sound cannon. It emitted a high-frequency screech meant to startle large mammals. Cheryl dropped her megaphone mid-sentence and let out a scream that would have earned her an Oscar. She hit the ground, rolled through some weeds, and then popped up yelling at a bush. "I know what you're hiding in there." Meanwhile, Thor the robotic dog kept its programmed distance, eyes flashing red, logging every movement. Back in the command shed, I was reviewing night footage when my radio crackled. "Cole, we've got a situation." I didn't even need to ask. "Is she past the line?" "Oh yeah. You want to escalate the deterrent sequence. Hold off. I'm coming up. Let's give her the 5-star tour." By the time I got there in my government-issued Jeep, Cheryl was pacing in front of a drone tower, yelling at it and swinging a tree branch. Her phone, still streaming, had fallen into the grass and was currently broadcasting a close-up of dirt and beetles. I stepped out in full uniform vest, badge belt. She spotted me and immediately began shouting like a human siren. "You!" she shrieked. "You think you can hide this from the public? I know what you're doing out here. Surveillance. Mind control. Don't think your uniform scares me. I've read the Constitution." "Ma'am," I said calmly, "you're trespassing on federal land. You've triggered multiple alarms and interfered with a field test. I need you to stay put while we assess the situation." "Damage?" she yelled, backing up as Thor flanked her left. "You're the one damaging the environment. What even is that thing? Is it legal? You're not on HOA property anymore, mister." "No," I said, showing her my ID. "This is federal land. And you just live-streamed yourself committing multiple felonies. She squinted at the badge through her bug-eyed sunglasses, and I saw the moment it hit her. You can't do this. I'm a taxpayer. I demand to speak to your superior. You just tried to arrest a federal contractor on government land while holding bolt cutters and screaming at a bush, I said. Good luck with that. That's when Thor barked at an automated cue. From the brush rolled a slow-moving surveillance bot projecting a red beam across Cheryl's path. A digital message scrolled under the beam. Stand by for detention procedure. She flopped onto the ground, arms flailing. Help! They're taking me. This is an abduction. By the time our backup team rolled up, she was crying, shouting legal threats, and claiming diplomatic immunity as a neighborhood leader. She's the full package, the lead officer muttered. As we loaded her into the secure van, her phone buzzed with notifications. One of our techs handed me a tablet. Archive this? Or use it for training? I grinned. Let's make her famous. The ride to base felt like a bizarre field trip. Cheryl handcuffed in the back, alternating between shouting about rights and whispering about satellites in her molars. At the processing station, she tried to reassert herself. I want bottled water. Gluten-free snacks. A real lawyer, not one of your government plants. The base commander, Colonel Diaz, stepped in. He dealt with insurgents, looters, and wild boars in combat zones. But even he blinked at Cheryl. She puffed out her chest like she was announcing her campaign. Yes, seriously, she said. I'm the elected HOA president. I knew something shady was going on. Your associate here is conducting unauthorized agriculture and testing illegal frequencies. Ma'am, Colonel Diaz said without a flicker of amusement, you are being detained for trespassing on federal land, interrupting a scheduled field calibration, destroying property, and live-streaming it all. Congratulations. She shouted, I have rights. And you'll be read every single one, Diaz replied. As I stepped out to file the footage, my phone rang. The Pentagon's media branch. An intern had clipped Cheryl's livestream and shared it internally as a joke. It went viral inside the building. Now, the communications director wanted permission to use it for a public safety PSA. Back inside, Cheryl was losing her mind again, demanding to place me under citizen's arrest, accusing our tech of scanning her brainwaves and trying to sue the U.S. Army for psychological warfare via robotic landscaping. Escort her out, Colonel Diaz said. Let the sheriff handle her. We're not wasting a jail cell. She tried to made a break for the communications trailer only to be cut off by Thor. She froze. Not the mind-reading dog again. She was escorted without further incident. By the time the sheriff filed charges trespassing, destruction of federal property, interfering with operations, false use of emergency channels, Cheryl was famous. Turns out she'd called 911 mid-meltdown and claimed she was being abducted by a rogue military cult that experimented with gardening lasers. The dispatcher thought it was a prank. It wasn't. Her cousin showed up as her attorney. No license. Brought a manila folder labeled Holy Legal Wins as his only prep. The test site hadn't been this entertained in years. Colonel Diaz greenlit a team pizza night. Someone scrawled unauthorized vegetation patrol on the ops room whiteboard. Code Cheryl became an internal meme. I compiled her footage into a highlight reel for training purposes, her battle with Thor, her speech to a bush, her dive into the mud. The final title card, When HOA Presidents Go Rogue. That night, Cheryl went live on Facebook, frizzy-haired and defiant. They tried to silence me, she told 40 confused followers. But the truth is coming out. The comments were brutal. Lady, you lost a fight with a robot dog. You're not silenced. You're just on mute. A week later, she launched a podcast called Eyes Wide Arizona. First episode? A 20-minute whisper rant recorded from her car, parked at a gas station. She accused me of planting mood control wheat and using drones to track her toothpaste purchases. Claimed clouds were surveillance devices. Insisted a barn owl was watching her with intent. We sent a cease and desist. The podcast vanished. But the internet never forgets. Someone auto-tuned her screams into a techno beat. The remix hit 1 million views in 48 hours. Memes poured in. Even the Pentagon tweeted, please don't feed the conspiracy theorists, especially near restricted zones. I got a call from an old contact in Washington. Your footage is going to be used for breach awareness training nationwide. Later, they flew me in to narrate an official PSA. They recreated Cheryl's rampage in digital simulation. Bolt cutters. Megaphone. The mud dive. Final title, Civilian Escalation Protocol Case CH. At home, peace returned. The new HOA president, a retired Marine, installed a pink-painted robot at the entrance named Cheryl Patrol. It held a fake citation pad and a sign that read, "I'm watching, but I don't care." Even the kids loved it. Cheryl didn't. She filed a complaint. It was denied. Eventually, she moved away, rumor said, to a prepper camp 2 counties over. Last anyone heard, she was kicked out for accusing the leader of alphabetizing rations incorrectly. She tried one last video after that, yelling about compost conspiracies and exile by the underground elite. It got 8 views. 6 were probably hers. She disappeared after that. We framed a plaque near the gate where it all began. This site was defended during the Cheryl incident of 2025. Unauthorized vegetation inspectors not permitted. People still stop to take pictures. Laugh. Shake their heads. Cheryl thought she was the hero. But really? She became a legend for all the wrong reasons. And me? I just kept sipping my coffee, watching the fence, and waiting for whatever would come next. Just hopefully not another Cheryl.